Namaste everyone, I am your co-host Shaoni ma'am. Welcome to your favorite learning channel. The topic for today's video is classification of plants on the basis of nutrition type. So we had already studied about autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition in our previous videos. So we know that most of the plants are autotrophic as they synthesize their own food. So today we will see about the different types of plants, okay, that is based on the nutrition type of these plants. So we'll get to see, are all the plants autotrophic or are some heterotrophic as well. So first we will begin with the first type of classification of plants. So that will be photosynthetic plants. Okay, photosynthetic plants. In our previous video, we had already covered the topic photosynthesis. Okay, so we know that photosynthetic plants are green plants. They are green plants that synthesize or prepare. Okay, they synthesize or prepare their own food. And how do they do that? By the help of photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is the process by which these plants prepare their own food. Hence, these plants are autotrophs. Autotrophs. That is, they follow autotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay. For example, all the green plants, like we can take an example of banana plant, then banana plant, then mango trees, okay, etc. All these plants and trees are green, that is, they have chlorophyll, and due to the presence of chlorophyll, they can capture sunlight, they absorb water from the soil, they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and they synthesize food in the form of glucose by the process of photosynthesis. Thus, they are autotrophs. Okay. Now, plants, there are plants that obtain food. They obtain food from other sources. Okay, so these are called heterotrophic plants, but majority of plants are autotrophs. They synthesize their own food. Some of the plants are heterotrophic plants. So depending on the source of nutrition, the heterotrophic plants can be categorized as parasitic plants, or they can be symbionts or symbiotic plants, or they can be insectivorous. Okay, insectivorous plants. Okay, so let's first study about parasitic plants. Parasitic plants. So parasites are those organisms which obtain parasites are organisms that obtain nutrition from other living organisms called the host. We had seen this. Okay. So now what do these parasitic plants do? These parasitic plants, they obtain nutrition from their host plants, and they do that by the help of some sucking roots, and these sucking roots have a name called Hostoria. Okay, So Haustoria are the sucking roots by which or with the help of which the parasitic plants obtain their nutrition from the other living plants, that is their host plants. So what does this Haustoria do? Haustoria, they penetrate deep into these Haustoria are structures that penetrate penetrates deep into the stem or roots of host plant, because the parasitic plants are deriving their nutrition from host plant. So Haustoria is penetrating deep into the stem or roots of host plant. Okay. For example, we'll take an example of parasitic plant, that is Cuscuta. Cuscuta is the scientific name of dodder plant. Okay. So it is commonly called as dodder. So structurally, this Cuscuta, it is a non-green plant. Okay. It is non-green, thread-like. Okay. So it is non-green, thread-like, golden yellow plant. Golden yellow plant. Okay. It cannot synthesize its own food. Okay, because it lacks chlorophyll. It lacks chlorophyll, hence cannot synthesize or cannot prepare its food. Okay, and it obtains its nutrition from other plant. It obtains nutrition from where? From the host plant. From the host plant on which it climbs. On which it climbs. Okay. So what it does, the Cuscuta develops small roots called Haustoria. Okay. That we had discussed, that it develops Haustoria which penetrate into the stem and branches. It develops, that is Cuscuta develops Haustoria, and this Haustoria, what it does, it penetrates. It penetrates, okay, into the stem and branches of host. Into stem and branches of the host plant. Okay, into the stem and branches of the host plant and derives its nutrition. So we also call Cuscuta as total stem parasite. It is also known as, that is Cuscuta is also known as what? It is also known as total stem parasite because it obtains its nutrition from the stem of the host. Okay. So this is an example of parasitic plant. There are other parasitic plants like Rafflesia. Okay. So we have discussed in detail about one of the parasitic plants, that is Cuscuta. Now moving on, we will be discussing about the next type of heterotrophic plants, that is the insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants. They can also be called as carnivorous plants. So what happens is, these plants are actually green plants. They are green plants and they do photosynthesize, okay, and they can prepare their own food. They prepare own food by performing photosynthesis. But the important factor here is, but they grow, they grow in soil, and this soil lacks nitrogen, okay. So what these plants do, these plants, these insectivorous plants, what do? They trap insects. They trap insects, then they kill them, digest them, okay, and absorb they absorb nitrogen from the insects, okay, and this they do with the help of with modified leaves, okay. These are called insectivorous plants. Example we will take here is of pitcher plant. Pitcher plant is one of the insectivorous plants. The scientific name of pitcher plant is Nepenthes. Okay, the scientific name is Nepenthes. So in pitcher plant, what happens? The tip of the plant is modified. The tip of the plant is modified into a pitcher-like structure that is given with a lid, okay, and the bottom of pitcher there is sweet digestive juices, and these juices help in attracting the insects. They do have this structure, they have hair present in the structure that helps in trapping the insects. Once the insects get trapped, they are unable to come out of that trap, and with the help of these digestive juices, the insects are digested within the pitcher like structure, and the nitrogen from the insects is absorbed by the plants, and this helps them to get adequate amounts of nitrogen, okay. So this is about insectivorous plants. The next type of heterotrophic plants are symbiotic plants, okay. So let's see what happens here. So in case of symbiotic plants, this is another heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What happens here is two different types of organisms, two different types of organisms, they live together, okay, they live together and they benefit each other, okay, both the organisms are benefited by each other, okay. So such organisms are called symbionts. Such organisms are called, what are they called? They are called symbionts, and this type of association and their association is called symbiosis. Okay, so here we will be taking an example of lichen. Okay, lichen is a very good example of symbiosis. It is the association of green algae and fungi. So let's see how each other gets benefited. Okay, so here the algae is the photosynthetic partner. It prepares food. Okay, green algae, they have chlorophyll and they prepare food. They prepare food for their non-photosynthetic partner, that is fungi. And fungi, being the non-photosynthetic partner, it helps in absorption. It helps in the absorption of water and minerals from the soil. Okay, from the soil. So fungi absorbs water and minerals from the soil and supplies it to the algae. Algae uses all these things and prepare food as they contain chlorophyll. So they prepare food by the process of photosynthesis and provide the food to the fungi. Okay, so here both the organisms are getting benefited from each other. Next example we will see is, or we will discuss is the Rhizobium, which is a bacterium. Okay, so Rhizobium bacterium in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Rhizobium, it is a bacterium in the root nodules. They can be found in root nodules of leguminous plants. So here what happens is, Rhizobium, this bacterium Rhizobium helps in nitrogen fixation. So it fixes the atmospheric nitrogen into the form that is easily absorbable by the plants. Okay, and in turn the roots of the leguminous plants, roots of leguminous plants, they help, these roots of leguminous plants help in exchange, they provide water and carbohydrates in exchange of this nitrogen fixation that is performed by rhizobium. Okay, they provide carbohydrate and water. Okay, so this, by the process of nitrogen fixation, the nitrogen levels are also enriched in the soil. Okay, so let's just quickly go through or revise the things that we have studied. So we saw that there are different types of plants based on their nutrition type. First we discussed about photosynthetic plants. We saw that these are green plants that can synthesize their own food by the process of photosynthesis, because as they are green plants, they contain the green pigment called chlorophyll that helps in the process of photosynthesis. So these plants are basically autotrophs. Example, we took of banana plant, mango trees, etc. Okay. So here we can see photosynthetic plants. These are all green plants which can photosynthesize and can prepare their own food. Then we saw that some plants can obtain food from other sources. These are called heterotrophic plants, and depending on the source of nutrition, these heterotrophic plants can be of the following types, that is parasitic, symbionts or insectivorous plants. So next, coming to parasitic plants, we know that parasites are the organisms that obtain their nutrition from hosts. So parasitic plants also obtain their nutrition from their host plants by the help of sucking roots called hostoria. So these hostoria are structures that can penetrate deep into the stem or roots of host plant. Here we have taken example of cascata, which is commonly known as dodder plant. They are actually non-green thread-like golden yellow plant. Here we can see that thread-like golden yellow plants. They actually lack chlorophyll and cannot prepare their own food. Okay, so they have specialized structures called hostoria that penetrates into the stem and branches of their host plants on which they climb. So these cascata are commonly called as the total stem parasite because they obtain the nutrition by penetrating into the host plant stem. So from the stem of host plants they obtain their nutrition, hence they can also be called as total stem parasite. Okay. Then we have talked about insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants are green plants. Okay, they can synthesize their own food, that is, they can perform photosynthesis, but they grow in such soil conditions that lack nitrogen. So what these plants do, they trap insects. After trapping, they kill them, they digest them and absorb the nitrogen from the insects, and this is done by their modified leaves. We have taken an example of insectivorous plant as pitcher plant. The scientific name of pitcher plant is Nepenthes. So what happens is, we'll see in the diagram, there is a diagram of pitcher plant. So here this leaves are modified into pitcher like structures, okay, that is given with a lid, and at the bottom of the pitcher there is sweet digestive juices that attracts the insect. So and inside the pitcher there are hair like structures that once the insects get trapped in the pitcher they cannot come out, and the digestive juices present inside the pitcher plant helps in digesting the insect that gets trapped, and in turn it derives its nitrogen requirement by digesting that insect. Okay, so then we have talked about symbiotic plants. So what happens in symbiotic relationship? There are two different types of organisms that live in close association or that live together. So here both the organisms get benefited from each other. So such organisms are called symbionts, and such type of association is called symbiosis. One of the examples that we have taken is of lichen. So let's see the picture of lichens. Okay, these are lichens. Lichens are the symbiotic association between algae and fungi. So here algae is the photosynthetic partner that prepares food by performing photosynthesis and provides the food to the fungi, and in turn fungi provides the algae with water and mineral nutrients that it absorbs from the soil. The other example we had discussed of symbiotic relationships or symbiotic plants is that the root nodules of leguminous plants that are associated with bacterium Rhizobium. So what happens here is, Rhizobium is the bacterium that helps in fixation of nitrogen, and the roots of the leguminous plants in turn provide the bacterium with food and water, and by the process of nitrogen fixation, the soil also gets enriched with the essential nutrient, that is nitrogen, that in turn helps in the growth of plants. So this is another example of symbiotic plants. Okay, so I hope you all would have got some great insights by watching today's video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Till then, thank you for watching.